Hey there! I'm going to show you all the ways that these lesson plans allow for differentiation for your learners. It's not too hard to differentiate once you understand how flexible it is, but either way, I've built this in for you so that it is done for each grade level. I've already created the lessons so that you really can meet the needs of all your learners. It's built in, it's done for you, and you've got this. Let me show you one example. Extension ideas for the teacher to implement. You can see in tiny letters at the upper left-hand side of this handout is that these are teacher notes for an 8th grade class, week 1, day 3. And so this follows an activity that they've already done. So if you needed to differentiate for higher level learners or for a more advanced classroom, this gives you multiple ways that you could stretch that assignment and really challenge your kids. Many of my activities include extension ideas for the teacher to implement, or a lot of the activities, there's a teacher notes page or a teacher ideas page that goes with each week, and it provides different ways of how you can teach a lesson. That right there is differentiation. Those are definitely buzzwords today, aren't they? Differentiation and scaffolding and teaching to all levels of students. But look, I can tell you that these lesson plans provide tons of ways for you to do that each week. Here's another example. This is taken from an 8th grade unit as well, but it is representative of the types of things you'll see in all grade levels and all units. I don't do this with all exit tickets, but here's an example of an exit ticket where each question is differentiated. So the teacher could make copies of this page, cut apart the 3 different types of exit tickets, and they could use one type or one question for one class, or they could give different students within the class a different exit ticket question. But there's so many different ways to do it, and I find and create and build ways to differentiate within each lesson. So sometimes it's with the way you teach an activity, sometimes it's with the exit ticket or the quiz, but it's always built in and it's always there for you. Here's an example of an end of unit test. This is a narrative reading and writing unit. You see we have test A and test B. And so test A has a selection of multiple choice questions. This is actually one of the very few times you'll ever see multiple choice questions. But I always want to give teachers that option because sometimes you know how it is, you get to the end of a unit, you've got to get the grades in, and sometimes that's just the quickest way to do it. But there is a more open-ended option as well. In fact, you could really use one version of the test for your review, and then you could give your students the other version of the test for their actual test. Or you could use one for a lower performing class, one for a higher level performance in class. You could even mix and match. You could even combine these and have part of it be multiple choice and part of it as open-ended question. But I just wanted to put that out there to show you some of the different ways that I've built differentiation into the lesson plans for you. Having all this access also means that you can use the various levels to meet the needs of your students. In other words, when you join the language arts teachers community, even if you only teach 8th grade, you still get to use 6th grade and 7th grade lesson plans as needed. So that's what I'm talking about. You can reach back into any of those grade levels to provide for intervention or scaffolding lessons for kids who need it. Do you teach maybe a pre-AP or an accelerated level of 6th or 7th grade? Do you have to provide enriched or extended lessons and activities for your higher performing students? If you're struggling with that, if you're in a bind, just ask me in the discussion forums in the membership about which lessons would be best to use from the upper grade levels, or you can search inside them yourself. So if you're teaching 7th grade, let's say expository reading and writing, and let's say that your accelerated students are moving very quickly through those lesson plan activities, feel free to reach up into the 8th grade expository lesson plans and pull out what you need to extend their learning. That's good to know because the various grade level lesson plans are not the same plans with different standards. Let me say that again, that's important to know. This is not a lesson plan bundle where I just stick the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade standards on there and it can work for anything. I mean, they can work for anything, but they're very specific. So you really can truly differentiate using completely different lesson plans. So that's a bonus for you. It's like you've got built-in vertical alignment for 3 years of English language arts lesson plans. That's awesome. And as your personal instructional coach, I can also help you figure out other ways to differentiate as well.